Welcome to the latest edition of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. Tyler Mon, Sam Dykstra, Ben Hill. I started off too muted. Now I'm trying to pump the energy level up. What's going on, dudes?
I was going to say that just like steadily increased. I imagine like as the intro music was coming down, you just decided you were going to increase your own
slow
volume.
wave. Yeah, I just wanted to start yelling at all of you.
Well, I mean, that's the energy to bring at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, I liked it. It added energy.
It's like half the show anyway. It's just me yelling about random things. So welcome into this edition of the Show Before the Show, talking all things minor league baseball as we greet you in the middle of July. Big week coming up. Across the baseball spectrum, the Futures game this weekend, Major League Baseball's first-year player draft coming up, the All-Star game, of course, next week in Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium, and all kinds of big headlines on the table today, and we will be discussing all that and more. You can rate, review, and subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts, and get in touch with us, podcast@milb.com. We have been on a good roll of getting a lot of really cool emails from people. So chime in, join the conversation, give us some much needed praise because we crave your words of approval. So let's dive in. We're talking with our good pal Ben to kick off this week's show, who's been a busy man. Ben Hill back from Wisconsin and Minnesota. We're going to talk a little bit about those stops. But before we get to them, we are going to dive into a conversation that is lighting up the internet, I would imagine. Anyway, I haven't been on the internet much today, but Ben tweeted just a little while ago today, quote, "Tonight, the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles are staging 2010s night, a celebration of, quote, our most recent decade. What, from a pop culture standpoint, defined the 2010s?" And Ben posits that perhaps it's arguing about the color of a dress, which I do remember losing my mind over the first time that I realized that somebody did not see it as the same color as me. What do you guys take here? First of all, it makes me feel ancient, like I'm 1 foot in the grave, that we're having a minor league promotions night about the 2010s because that decade is already behind us. But let's hear it. What do you got for the 2010s?
Yeah, well, first of all, I do want to say this tweet is lighting up the internet. As we're talking right now, it's been live for about half an hour, and it has, I believe, 0 likes and 1 reply. But it's a very interesting topic, per usual.
People are trying to think it over.
They really are.
You know.
Oh, wait. Okay. No, we got a second response. There better be a minute of silence for Harambe, which is a pretty good.
Oh, that is a very good one.
That's a good one, Harambe. Yeah, I came up with the dress color. You know, pop culture wise, it is hard to get some distance from it. I think a lot of things that were popular then are popular now. I guess there's stuff like Game of Thrones. I mean, Drake, I know, is a huge part of the decade. In the early part of the decade, I had an iPod Nano, and the Nano had an FM radio on it. And I listened to a lot of Hot 97 in like 2011, New York's hip hop station. So I think of, especially when Lil Wayne got out of jail and he was jumping on like everyone's track, you know, the remixes, all these verses, like it was really exciting. Nicki Minaj had some great stuff that time. I was really into her around like the Pink Friday days. So I think about, I guess some of that Rick Ross was all over the place. We don't hear as much Rick Ross. So I think about music that a little bit, but it's hard to define. I think just the nature of the decade, the 10s, it just feels indistinct. I don't know, because we have distinct cultural signifiers for every decade, probably in our minds from the 1920s on. But the 1910s, what was that about? And now the 2010s, I think it's just a 10s thing.
Well, the 1910s had the First World War at the end of it.
Yeah, true. But, you know, what's a world war in the scheme of things?
I mean, I don't think of it as the decade of the First World War, but I guess that was the defining feature of that time.
The Archduke was assassinated.
The Archduke was assassinated.
Franz Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Also, man, I can't believe that the dress thing was 2015. If you were to ask me when the dress thing happened, I would have been like, it was like 2018, 2019. I can't believe
I
that.
would have guessed 2013.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Probably because the last 2 years it felt like 5, so everything just feels like it was longer than it was ago.
Yeah.
And I would love to see the Mighty Muscles pull that off. I'm sure they can't, for like just straight up baseball reasons, have half the guys wear blue and black, and
that would be cool. That would be cool.
I want to see that happen. Maybe in warm-ups.
Staff members in t-shirts that have like the blue and black design on the front, the yellow and white one on the back, just so it confuses people when they watch. Didn't I see that person earlier in a blue and black shirt?
Yeah, I was gonna say, or have the ushers like change shirts
Yeah,
halfway through the day.
yeah.
It's like when you were selling peanuts before, I saw you a certain way. Why have things changed? Have I changed?
Yeah.
I don't know. My mind, I guess, just goes to politics so often, which is probably not a great place to be. But you think about like the early 2010s was Obama and like an age of optimism, and
Yeah.
then things changed in 2016. But the other thing I'll bring up is just the rise of Twitter itself.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Like, I don't know when you guys got Twitter. I think I got it in 2009.
I did as well in 2009.
Yeah.
I should dig it up. I wrote a story on like how teams are utilizing new microblogging website Twitter. That would be a kind of fun one to go back and
That would be.
to think now, 13 years that a lot of us have been using Twitter.
Right.
Oh God, I don't want to think about how much time I spent on that platform and the other things I could have done with my life if it had not existed.
And maybe
Same.
you do something like, because obviously the beginning of the decade, it was 140 characters, which seems so tight now.
The decade prior to that, brace yourself, kids. Decade prior to that, people had to either text or email in their tweets, and then they would get posted on the website. Like when Twitter first launched, I had a professor in college who was on Twitter like shortly after it launched. And yeah, if I remember correctly, you had to like text your tweets to a number and then they would get posted to your account. So it wasn't even like an app that you had like an actual interface with, which is so weird to think about now.
Yeah. I mean, apps weren't even as big a thing.
Yeah.
In 20, I mean, they existed, but I remember, going to school in 2008 and one of my friends had an iPhone and it was just like, look at you, fancy schmancy. Like, you can touch your phone. Like what? He's like, oh, let me look it up on Google Maps on my phone. I'm like, oh, geez. Okay, fine. You have a map in your pocket. Look at you.
No, I think you're right. Just smartphones in general. Yeah, they debuted in the zeros, but I think
Right.
the 2010s were they become truly ubiquitous. I've always been a bit of a late adapter. I don't think I got a smartphone until 2012, but it was the decade in which it became virtually every single person. And how much did that change us? Maybe this was a more meaningful decade.
There is a very transformative decade, which, I guess they all are. But I feel like the world took so many huge turns in the 2010s compared to like, if you look at the 90s, like, yeah, there were a lot of big moments, but I feel like society changed in so many bigger ways. And I think it's because of the evolution of technology. If I had to pick a moment, I'm currently looking through a story on marieclaire.com, which is the biggest pop culture moments of the 2010s. And there are a lot of things that I'm like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. I think the moment that encapsulates the 2010s best is the Fire Festival disaster, which was 2017. And if you haven't watched those documentaries, they are fantastic. And that I feel like just encapsulates the decade in a very kind of poignantly depressing way. But man, there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to see if you guys remembered. Apparently in 2010 was when Lady Gaga rolled out the meat dress. You remember the meat dress?
Again, that feels like it could have been 2007.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm with you there. The conclusion of the Harry Potter era, the last of the movies came out, apparently. Frozen came out in 2013. And Frozen, talk about ubiquitous. Frozen has been everywhere ever since. 2013 was also the year that Miley Cyrus made that weird face while dancing up on whatever that creep's name, Robin Thicke, at the VMA. Remember that whole disaster? Gross. 2014 was when John Travolta called Idina Menzel Adele Dazeem while introducing her at the Oscars, which is a fantastic one. One that I think is, as far as like things that really swept society, the Ice Bucket Challenge. Was started in 2014, apparently. Everybody, I never did the Ice Bucket Challenge, but that was like the thing that you had to do if you were like a social media person. 2017 was when Warren Beatty read out the wrong movie for Best Picture. When he read out that it was Moonlight, or read out that it was La La Land, and Moonlight had actually won. There's a lot of, all this stuff, a lot of this stuff I had forgotten.
Speaking of misspeaking on a prominent stage and saying the wrong winner, remember the Steve Harvey hosting the Miss Universe pageant?
Yes, that too. And that was like the same year.
Yeah, I remember that because I think it was the Frisco Rough Riders did a promotion around that.
Yes, that
the
does sound right.
runner-up in the promotion. But he announced the wrong winner of the Miss Universe pageant.
And then like they went to commercial, I think, and they had to come back and have Steve Harvey be like, I screwed this up. Sorry, everyone. Also the final moment, I feel like in the pop culture sweep of the 2010s, Old Town Road came out in 2019.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good one.
Yeah.
You-
So that's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that is what an exhausting decade. I went from a spry youngster at the beginning of the decade to just an embittered old man by the end of it. It's great. You all
And
have
now
that
here we are.
to look forward to. And now here we are. That decade will happen to you as well someday. Look at the gray in my beard. It's all from the 2010s. But that is a great promotion. And I do feel ancient that not only do I feel ancient that we're now old enough and we're at a time in the world where we can have a 2010s night, but that means that I actually got my first job in baseball technically 2 decades ago because I started in 2009. Woof. Time comes for us all. Death smiles at us all.
That's a good way
So
to
on
say
that
it.
happy note, that's a great promo though, and kudos to Fort Myers for rolling it. So let's dive into some of the stuff that Ben still has coming to the sites from his road trip through Wisconsin and Minnesota. There is a terrific story that is up on the site right now at MILB.com about Timmy the Dancing Bat Boy, who is one of the stars at Beloit's ABC Supply Stadium, which I have to apologize to the people of Beloit. When I first saw the architectural renderings for that stadium, I thought like, oh, that's a cool generic naming rights sponsor that they put on the front of the stadium, ABC Supply. I thought that was just like they had come up with a thing that's like your name here, corporate naming right. But that's actually the name of the stadium. So I feel sorry, Beloit. And now I know, and I'll shop at ABC Supply if I ever come through. If it's a store, I don't even know. But Timmy the Dancing Bat Boy is a really cool story. A guy who it's not like he was hired to do this gig. He just kind of came about it by being himself. And this is an awesome piece that's up on the site. Ben, tell us about it.
Yeah, Timothy Boatner Jr. He told me he's 19 years old. He grew up in Beloit. He's always went to Snappers games at the old home of Pullman Field. Loves baseball, played baseball throughout high school, and he got a job in August of last year when ABC Supply Stadium opened. It opened in season, which is pretty rare. But he got a job as an usher, and on occasion he would dance between innings. And he told me sometimes he and his friend would dance in the hallways at school, but he's not like a formally trained dancer. He just feels the rhythm and moves. And he loves Michael Jackson in particular, but said he'll dance to anything, even country, even though he's took pains to point out he's not really a country fan, but he'll dance to anything. So he got a little bit of a reputation last year as an usher, dancing. And then this year they said, hey, we need a bat boy. You want to be the bat boy? And he did that. So now he's taking his dancing on the field, and Timmy Time has become a thing at home games for Beloit at ABC Supply Stadium, where he comes out during an inning break, dances on the field. And he said, again, like he doesn't like plan out these routines. He just moves, but there's something so earnest and likable about him. It's become a ballpark phenomenon. And of course, the kind of thing I like to write about. And, in a lot of these stories, I try to keep them pretty tight, not very long. And one thing I wasn't able to include in this story is that I said, what would you like to do, big picture in your life? And I wasn't expecting any specific sort of answer, but he said, I love trains. I love going to this Union Pacific rail yard that's like 40 minutes away in Illinois and watching the trains. And I'd like to work something involving trains. So he's a dancing bat
really
boy,
cool.
but he wants to work in trains.
That's really cool.
Just a unique guy. Adds just one of those many ballpark characters who adds a lot to the game day experience through a story all his own.
And staying in Beloit, speaking of kind of ballpark characters, but one who actually applies it straight on the field, you got to talk to MD Johnson during your time in Beloit with the Sky Carp, because they kind of directed you to say, hey, here's a player to talk to. And it seemed like you had a really interesting combo with him as well.
I did. I used to do more player stuff, but obviously I leave a lot of that to pretty much everyone else. I'm the company outlier. And at no point do I feel more like an outlier than this time of year when it's like futures game draft and everyone's like so involved. And I'm like, well, here's a story out of Dancing Bat Boy, but that's what I do. But I'm always open to players. I don't do it from a prospect analysis place, obviously. But if I get a lead that a guy's interesting, why not? So I talked to MD Johnson. Everyone calls him Doc. His name is Michael David. that got shortened to MD. Then when you're an MD, that inevitably became Doc. And the story is just about how he's a unique character, really likable dude. I interviewed him officially for maybe 10 or 12 minutes, but then we just kept talking for another 15 or 20 minutes. And then he's like, what, you going back up to the press box? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'll walk you up there. And he just walks up to the press box with me. He's socializing with people in the press box. He's a starting pitcher. He's the team ace. He's 6'5", real lanky guy, super into mechanics, analyzing his performance on, the software programs, TrackMan and Rapsodo. He's also, in terms of being Doc, he's a kinesiology major, and he's a surgeon of sorts in that he fixes gloves for his teammates all the time, relacing them, doing them up, putting different colors into it. And he got married at age 22, and he and his wife live at a campground near the ballpark. And he said there's no way else he'd rather live in minor league baseball than kind of having his little family on the road, he and his wife, and their miniature Dachshund. I hope that's how you say it. I've never said that dog breed out loud. A Dachshund?
Dachshund?
Dachshund, that's it. Well, why could I not get that?
I don't know. Maybe in German it's Dachshund.
Dachshund, yeah.
You can just say a wiener dog.
I should have said wiener dog. My goodness. Now it's on tape. Me saying Dachshund. Never gonna live this down. But anyway, interesting guy. And it was fun to kind of dive into who Doc is, MD Johnson, and what he's about.
That is a cool piece. And we have been kind of out of the mode of discussing ballpark guides for a while, but you've got a ballpark guide that is up about the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers home park, which is a place we were talking last week when getting a chance to discuss Wisconsin at large. That's the only team in the minors, I believe, that claims a whole state, right? As its moniker.
I think there's one other.
There used to be the Florida Fire Frogs.
Right, but the Mississippi Braves.
The Mississippi Braves. Yes.
Oh, the Arkansas Travelers.
Never mind. I'm an idiot. There, I'm trying to take the heat off.
New Hampshire Fisher Cats,
Oh,
Tyler?
yeah, New Hampshire Fisher Cats.
Okay, it's the only one in the Midwest League. That's what I meant to say.
There you go. and you are 100% correct.
See? Wait. Well, yeah. Okay, good. Midwest League. Iowa Cubs. Never mind. Forget it. Forget all of it. I'm trying to take the heat off.
Yeah, man, I said Dachshund, and now with the humiliation has moved to Tyler.
Sam, it's your turn. Say something dumb. But anyway, Wisconsin, the ballpark guide is up, and a unique place to go visit.
Yeah, it was great to write that up. Obviously the ballpark guides, we talked about them a lot, long-term project, getting one done for every ballpark. And we did a lot in the off season. We've written a lot, based on our prior visits to these locations. But whenever I go to a place and the ballpark guide has not yet been written, that's ideal for me, because then I can do a ballpark guide directly informed by my recent experience. And I really do like visiting the Timber Rattlers. Up there in Appleton, Wisconsin, you kind of have to make a point to visit the Timber Rattlers. They don't really naturally slot into other ballpark road trips, but I would say if you're planning a road trip and you can get up to that area, really make the effort. Also during the summer, there's a lot of Northwoods summer collegiate teams around there as well. So I think you could have a lot of fun in the state of Wisconsin in the summer. And it's just a really fun place to see a game. And one thing that's jumped out at me both times I've been is, I arrive at the ballpark early, being a member of the media. And both times I've been to Wisconsin, I got the ballpark early and the parking lot is already filled with people tailgating. That's the culture there. So there's people playing lawn games and with the grills set up and, sitting on chairs underneath little tents. And that's the culture there, in Wisconsin and Minnesota as well. I think these places where the summer is comparatively short, people really go all out. And it's just fun to pull into a minor league ballpark and have this like party atmosphere that the crowd brings themselves. So just a fun place to see a ballpark, and check out the ballpark guide and learn much, much more about it, as well as things to do in Appleton, Wisconsin, including, the Harry Houdini exhibit at the History Museum at the Castle, the Hearthstone House with the first home in the world, I believe, powered by hydroelectricity. You can visit the International Paper Hall of Fame, because there's a lot of paper history as well, which was fueled by hydroelectricity.
What do you have to do to be elected to the Paper Hall of Fame?
You got to be a cut above.
Pretty good. Pretty good. I think we should just end it there.
Well, before we do let you go, Ben, we will say, because the newest newsletter is out as we are recording this, and also, everybody might already have seen it, but in case you haven't, you announced your next road trip, which will allow you to once again have been everywhere. So where are you head next?
That's right. In 2018, for the first time, I was able to say I'd been to every minor league ballpark after visiting Grand Junction, Colorado. And then in 2019, I had to do it again by visiting the 3 new ballparks that year. And Las Vegas was the one that I visited in 2019 to once again say I'd been everywhere. And now 3 years later, I will soon be able to say it again when I finally make it to Riverfront Stadium, home of the Wichita Wind Surge. I will be there on July 29th and 30th, the final stop in a road trip that also includes the Oklahoma City Dodgers and Tulsa Drillers. I believe I have not been to see those teams since 2011, speaking of the 2010s. So I'm due for those places as well. So that will be Oklahoma City, July 27th, Tulsa, July 28th, Wichita, July 29th and 30th. Yeah, I've got the newsletter, or the itinerary in the latest newsletter. I'll announce it on social shortly. Of course, recruiting designated eaters, and also going to kind of do maybe a soft launch of a different concept I had of sort of a town ambassador or designated host, if you will. But trying to meet up with people when I'm visiting a town for maybe a couple hours in the afternoon, and show me around the town, show me the interesting sites. That kind of stuff is, I think, great for social media content. Sometimes standalone articles, certainly within the ballpark guides, which includes things to do around the area. And I always like meeting people. So, keep that in mind as well. If you're in that area and somehow have a few hours in the afternoon, trying to meet up with people and learn things about the places I'm visiting. So that is all coming up. Yeah, there's just a lot going on now. Even had another article about the St. Paul Saints appear this week as well, about the musical director, Andrew Crowley, who, plays keyboard, organ, does all the in-house sound, mixing board, drum pads, love to see people providing live musical accompaniment at the ballpark, and kind of like Dancing Bat Boys. If there's someone playing live music at a ballpark in an official capacity, I'm going to write about it. I'm predictable in those ways. So yeah, please follow along. A lot going on this time of year. It is peak baseball season, which means for all of us, there's a lot going on.
Benjamin Hill, you can find on Twitter at Ben's Biz and on Instagram at the Ben's Biz. And Ben, enjoy the build up for the next trip, and we'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll still be here next week, and we'll talk more about it, and we'll talk more about other great things, and maybe we'll have more clarity on what the 2010s meant to us.
I like that idea. I need some clarity. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Sam.
Big thanks to Benjamin Hill, and my apologies to all of you who are fans of teams that are named after states that I forgot about. Let's move along to a lengthy conversation this week. Sam and I have so much to discuss because it is a huge week, as noted, across Major League Baseball, minor league baseball. Futures game coming up on Sunday. The Major League first year player draft this weekend. Saturday, sorry. I think I said Sunday. Saturday this weekend for the futures game. The Major League Baseball first year player draft this weekend as well. Getting started. So we've got some fun topics to dive into this week. And we're going to start with the futures game, which is, of course, a showcase event. Top prospects in the American League versus those from the National League. And Sam and I are going to draft our squads from the players who have been named to the futures game. You can, of course, head to MLB Pipeline, check out the futures game rosters, and learn about who your favorite league will be putting out at Dodger Stadium to try to conquer the other league. But Sam and I are going to select our teams, position players, one designated hitter, a left-handed pitcher, and a right-handed pitcher. And this is always kind of a challenge when you record a little early because there are roster changes, and there will probably still be some roster changes. We're recording on Thursday the 14th, so we're a couple days away from the futures game. But it is probably highly likely, I would say, that some changes are still coming. So either way, if somebody has been or currently is on the roster, they are eligible. Sam and I are going to pick our squads, and as it usually goes with these draft things, mine will be vastly better, and we'll do it that way.
You've not decided who goes first. I will let you go first, Tyler, this time. We'll also, just to set up how this is going to work, we'll snake it. So you go, then I will go twice, then you go twice, etc.
Like a fantasy sports draft, but it's only with two people.
Right. And also we're not going in any order of position. So you can
Right.
draft any position at any time. But once you draft for that position, you can't come back to it. So you can't take 3 catchers if you wanted.
It's too bad. I was going to carry 8 catchers on.
I mean, if you
on my
want to
squad.
draft 8 catchers and then tell Henry Davis that he is playing left field, you go right on ahead. But
That's
they
all I'm
do
going to do.
have to theoretically play that position.
Taking catchers. Dylan Dingler is going to be like my starting shortstop. We're just going to have
He's
an all.
athletic enough. That
He
could
is an
work.
athletic dude. We're going to have all catching squad. All right, I'm kicking this off. I'm picking first.
Yeah.
Francisco Alvarez, baby.
Oh, come on. I shouldn't have said catchers. I feel like I planted a seed.
Oh, he was going to be my first pick regardless.
Okay.
Because he is the guy who has left me with the most lingering memory from the 2021 Futures game, watching him take batting practice last year. He is a stunningly exciting talent. He's the type of guy who, I mean, I've told this story on the podcast before. Somebody was taking BP and it was so loud. I was focused on doing something else. And I was like, who is hitting right now? And turned around and it was Francisco Alvarez. So he is my first pick, the Mets prospect, the top prospect in that organization, and MLB's new number 2 overall.
Yeah. And, not to give away a story that hopefully is out by the time you guys have seen this, but we got to write up like what we're most excited to see in the Futures game or who. And Alvarez was my guy, both for pregame BP and in-game batting sessions. Like he homered last year.
Yeah.
Could easily homer again this year. He's been so good at AA and now AAA for the Mets. Okay, so Francisco Alvarez is our number 1 prospect.
Off the board.
Off the board.
He's off the board.
On. I am going to take somebody else who is actually in the conversation, I think, with Francisco Alvarez for the number 1 prospect in the minor leagues right now, and that is Corbin Carroll.
Okay.
The Arizona
Very good pick. Recently promoted Corbin Carroll.
Recently promoted. Just as recently promoted as Francisco Alvarez. Those guys were both moving up the ladder in the Mets and D-back system. Carroll, I think, is as close to a 5-tool prospect as we have in baseball right now, at least at the minor league level. We've always known he was fast going back to his draft days. We always thought he could hit a little bit. Now he's starting to show even better power. People thought he would have below average power. It's at least average power now. It's a little difficult to judge those guys who play at Amarillo and Reno because those are 2 launching pads. But the way he hits balls to the gap, the way he hits balls over the fence has been really special. His arm is good. He's coming off a major shoulder injury last year, but has looked healthy this year and productive. Every piece is there for Corbin Carroll. And I think this is basically his coming out party. A lot of people have heard about how good he is. He could make highlight plays in the outfield. He could hit the ball really well. He's going to be my leadoff hitter to get it. We're not going to make lineups here, but theoretically he would be my leadoff hitter. So Corbin Carroll is my number 1 pick here. Now I get a second one. Let's see. Who do I want to go to next? I'm going to go to third base next, and I'm going to take Jordan Walker.
Okay.
We got some speed there with Corbin Carroll. I'm going to add some thump to my lineup in Jordan Walker at third base. One of my favorite prospects coming into the year, and he's only built that at such a young age at AA Springfield in the Cardinals organization. It's potential plus power from him. He's hit the ball really well this year. He's hit above 300 for most of the year, despite being super young for the AA level. The Cardinals have always been very aggressive with him, sending him to single A and high A last year. Tackling this assignment, wouldn't be surprised if he sees Memphis by season's end. But yeah, the power is there. The hitting ability is there. Some questions about where he's going to end up defensively, because like Nolan Gorman, he plays third base. Nolan Arenado's at third base in St. Louis. At what point do you move him around? We'll see. Probably can't move him to first base because Paul Goldschmidt plays there. For the purposes of this, he's my third baseman. Make him, your heart of the lineup batter, and I think that's going to work out really well. So I'm going to take Jordan Walker, my second pick.
All right, second pick for me. I too am going to go to the left side of the infield, and I'm going to snag Gunnar Henderson from the Baltimore Orioles organization. Gives me a little bit of versatility. A guy who can play third, he can play short. Really just like what he does. He's also played some second in his career. We're probably not going to test him there. Don't worry, O's fans. But he's gotten a good amount at both spots so far this year at third and short. He played 27 games for Bowie at third and 18 at short. With Norfolk, it's been a little reverse, 16 at short and 12 at third. But Gunnar Henderson has had a terrific start to this season, or had a terrific start to this season at AA, and he's been really good since he was promoted to AAA. And then I'm kind of trying to figure out which route I want to go next. But I think I'm going to lock down a pitcher here. And I think I am going to go with the Los Angeles Dodgers number 2 prospect, Bobby Miller, who has been so good. I mean, if you're the Dodgers and you're able to snag a pitcher in the draft and get him into your system, he's going to be a star. It just seems like it's a matter of time before you can snag a guy and get him to the big leagues. And of course, somebody who came out of his career at Louisville and was the 29th overall pick in the shortened draft in 2020. Bobby Miller has been very, very good so far this year. And he's currently with Tulsa, an ERA of 4.12, but a guy who has shown some absolute flashes of brilliance. Last time out, he struck out 9. Start before that, he struck out 10. Touches 100 miles an hour. He is very, very good. So Bobby Miller is going to be the right-handed dude on my staff.
That's pretty good. And one thing I really like about Bobby Miller pitching in Dodger Stadium on Saturday is I think he could have the best fastball of anybody in the game.
Yeah.
And he's going to have a little extra juice. We don't have lineups yet. I really hope he starts.
Same.
He deserves to, based off the body of work, but also I love when the starter comes from the hometown team. So Bobby Miller, solid pick there for Tyler. This is probably bad strategy, but I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to use up my DH spot.
Oh, interesting.
Because
Sam's
I'm
the guy who
worried you're going
drafts
to
a
take this
kicker.
guy at some point.
Sam gets a kicker in the 3rd round.
Yeah. This is, I get the San Diego State punter. What was his name again? Punt God. No, this guy is, I want him on my team so bad. And that's why I'm taking him at DH, because I want to leave.
I think I know where you're going.
He's basically eligible at either shortstop or third base. I already have my
okay.
third baseman. I want to keep my shortstop open because you just took a shortstop and there's no need to take a shortstop right now. I'm taking Ellie De La Cruz, man.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Ellie De La Cruz is my designated hitter.
I like that pick.
Switch hitter. We've seen him just this week, homer from both sides of the plate in the same game. He's pretty quick. He's basically, once O'Neal Cruz graduates from Prospectum, he's the next version of that, of a guy who's really big, not quite as big as O'Neal Cruz, but very big, tooled up, can stand out in multiple ways. Some questions about where he's going to be defensively. He's playing short and third now. Like I said, I would kind of like to see him play the center field spot at some point. But just so much thump in that bat. He strikes out a little too much. That's why we didn't move him up yet in our top 100. When the next update comes, I'm ready to stuff him again and jump him several spots, because he's clearly showing that he can live with a strikeout rate in 25 to 30% range. And Ellie De La Cruz is exactly designed for a game like this, in which all of your tools are on display. So Ellie De La Cruz is my DH. And again, a little worried about taking that early. Next is somebody it's funny, Jim Callis, who works with us at MLB Pipeline, has accused me of this guy being my favorite prospect.
Okay.
And he's probably not wrong.
Now
he's
maybe
not my
I know
favorite,
where you're going. Okay.
What?
I said, now maybe I know where you're going.
Do you want to announce it for me?
No, because if you don't take him, then I'm going to take him to make you mad.
Okay. All right. It's Jackson Churchill.
Dang it.
Of the Milwaukee Brewers.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. He's going to be, as of now, when the rosters were originally announced, he's going to be the youngest player there, but he's certainly earned his spot there. I wrote up a feature on him a couple weeks ago. Just a fascinating guy to watch, because when the Brewers signed him, he got a pretty good, chunk of change coming out of Venezuela, but wasn't somebody who was on a top 100 radar this year. They keep pushing him. They moved him to Carolina at just 18 years old. He's continued to do really well there. His power is playing really quickly. He has a great ability to find the barrel. He is striking out a little bit too much, but still, I think that's just a learning curve. Being 18, this is technically his first stateside season, skipped right over the Arizona Complex League. He's got plus to plus speed. That's what's allowed him to be so good in center field. Just another super toolsy guy that I think fits very well. And I don't know who's going to play in the corners now between him and Corbin Carroll, but I will take that as a good problem.
That is a good problem to have. That was the name that was on the tip of my tongue to snag, just to block you from getting him. So, all right. Congratulations, Sam. That at least, see, now we're into kind of the meat of the draft, because we've each gotten 3-4 picks done. And it makes it like a little more complicated when you start looking at, all right, well, do I want to reach for somebody here? Do I feel like I can get this person, a little bit later? I feel as though it would be insane of me to not take my next pick and to slide Gunnar Henderson over to third and to grab Anthony Volpe of the New York Yankees to play short. So that's what I'm going to do. So Volpe at short, Henderson at third. I shift alt tabbed away from the rosters window just to see your facial expression, and you look mad, so I'm happy now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, part of the reason why I took Ellie De La Cruz at DH was I'm like, well, I'll just slide Volpe into the shortstop spot.
No, you won't. Nope.
I wish we had set the parameters that you have to announce a player at a spot and that's where they stay, but we didn't.
No, man, this is all about positional versatility, Sam.
Yes, you got it.
This is the era of baseball that we live in now.
You have gained the system. Go on.
You're welcome.
Do your little dance. Yeah. Go on.
And there are like 3 or 4 guys that I keep thinking to myself, like, I bet I could probably take him later. One thing that I'm also realizing about this group of prospects, this squad, both squads loaded with catchers. There are so many good catching options out there. So to be able to snag Francisco Alvarez first overall, I'm very excited about. But man, there are some really, really good catching talents out there. Like, you're not gonna, if you go get Shea Langoliers, it's not as though you're taking much of a step down from anybody else in the game, because that dude is a stud behind the plate. So that doesn't really apply to anything at all here, but just wanted to put it out there. All right. So for my next pick, I think I'm going to go with Ricky Tiedemann, because I have had a prospect crush on him for the majority of this year. He's a third-ranked prospect in the Blue Jays system. He'll be my left-handed pitcher. He is a dude. The numbers are great. The strikeout numbers are great. He's a guy who I think the average prospect fan coming into this year may not have really known a whole lot about Ricky Tiedemann. He's only 19. He came out of a junior college, was a 3rd-round pick, 91st overall last year, but he's got 103 strikeouts in 67 2/3 innings this year, a 2.13 ERA. He's at high A with the Vancouver Canadians, so he's already introducing himself to, the fans on that side of the border. I really, really like Ricky Tiedemann, so I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, no, Ricky Tiedemann is a good one. And I remember the hype building in spring training.
Yeah.
Blue Jays reporter for us for MLB.com is Keegan Matheson, and he was messaging me being like, dude, everybody here is so pumped about Ricky Tiedemann. I'm like, yeah, he's not a 1st-round pick necessarily coming into the year. I don't know how much we can push him. And he's like, no, we need to. His velocity is up. Everything's been really great. And it's continued both at Dunedin and at Vancouver. The slider has been really good. The changeup has been really good. It's an entire package. So good pick for you. He's definitely somebody who is on my board. So Tyler, you have no more pitchers available. Your pitching is spoken for. So I guess I will hold off.
I'm a person who's scarred as a baseball fan growing up where I've grown up. You got to get the good pitching early.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so I'm going to go second base because I don't think second base is very deep for this game.
That is true.
Because I think there's potential second basemen who are right now playing shortstop, and I don't want to make them for one game. That being said, the guy who I am very excited to pick here is another one of my prospect crushes. Tyler, you might know where I'm going with this. It is Curtis Mead.
Yeah, I was going to take him at first.
Oh,
which is very fitting because I picked Curtis Mead in another draft that we did, and I don't remember what it was, but you were set to take him with your next pick, and I snagged him, and so turnabout is fair play. Yeah, I think it was the fall league one. Dang it.
Curtis Mead has bopped around the infield in the Rays system. He's played third, he's played first, he's played some second. So I'm going to take him here at second just because I think it's not as deep a field there. But Curtis Mead can hit the ball really well. He's already up at AAA Durham. They love the exit velocities coming out of that guy. Coming into the year, he was a potential, 280, 290 hitter for the Rays. Has a really simple setup, just stands up straight in the box, has a decent stride, but is one of those see ball, hit ball type of hitters and sprays it around. There's going to come a time where he turns doubles into home runs. We're starting to see that a little bit, but he's super young for the AAA level now. Some questions about what he's going to be defensively, but don't worry, the Rays have ways of getting around that as an organization. He's going to hit the ball really well. And again, put him at second base we don't have to worry as much about the arm there as we would at third. And yeah, so Curtis
Dang
Mead, very excited to add him
You took the
to
only
our
Australian.
mix.
Not,
And
not
I'm
happy.
yeah, I know. I took the Australian.
Not happy. Well, I should say our Australian listeners are not going to be happy with me. I'm supposed to be the ambassador, and
Yeah.
I failed them.
Too bad for you. All right, so I'm going to round out my outfield. Tyler, you have not taken an outfielder yet.
I have
so
not. I have not.
There are
And
tons
I
of
have
good
a feeling
options.
you're going to take one of the guys that I have an eye on.
Okay. I don't know if you're gonna if this would have been your next outfield pick or not, but I just love this guy. I love watching him hit. It's George Valera.
Oh, okay.
Of the Cleveland Guardians organization, 21-year-old. If you get a chance to watch George Valera, he has it feels old school. His setup, it's kind of like an open stance. It's kind of loosey-goosey, but everything syncs up really well. When he hits a home run, he knows he hit a home run and he stares him down pretty well. And credit to him, it's because they are way gone. This is not somebody who's going to get caught, watching a ball scrape the wall. He hits the ball pretty far. Again, only 21 years old at AA Akron this year. He's got an 866 OPS. The pieces are there for him to be really good. I think, I've got a good team right now with some thumpers, and Jordan Walker and Curtis Mead could be that guy, and Ellie De La Cruz. This gives us another power bat for that, number 5, number 6 role in the lineup. So very excited to add George Valera to our roster here.
Okay. It's a good pick, and I like it. I'm going to go to the right side of my infield for my next selection and snag Nick Prado of the Kansas City Royals organization, a guy who has been at AAA Omaha in each of the last 2 seasons, part of 2021. He's back there here in 2022, and dude who has made a very swift climb through that system and is in the midst of, I think, kind of figuring it out at AAA. He really struggled in May, got better in June, and in July so far. We're only 10 games into the month, but his batting average this month is 278, which is 28 points higher than any other month this year. His OPS is 1033 because he's got 4 homers already this month. He had 4 in all of June, 5 in May, 4 in April. So a guy who I think is now putting all the pieces together. Now, what that means for an eventual major league conversation with the Royals and their depth, obviously we don't need to break into that because it's way more complicated. And thankfully we don't have to discuss it at this moment, but he's going to be the guy first for me.
Well, I will say, Nick Prado is like a perfect example of why we laid out that anybody who was on the roster at some point is eligible, because right now it looks like Nick Prado is going to make his major league debut with the Royals this weekend in Toronto, because the Royals have multiple players who are going to be on the restricted list. Nick Prado, a perfect call-up example. He's like you said, he's getting hot, getting ready. So he's probably going to miss the game. I can almost say definitely is going to miss the game on Saturday, but was on this roster for a reason.
Right.
The glove work, you mentioned all the offensive improvements. The glove work has always been great. Gold Glove caliber first baseman. Might be one of the best defenders in this game on either side. And it's too bad he plays first base because gloves don't always shine there. But anyways, just wanted to say that about Nick Prado.
Yes. And I have my eyes set on 3 young outfielders, and I'm trying to figure out who to go with first. And I think the one that I am going to select as I Michael Scott my way through this conversation, because there are 2 that I really just can't decide between. I got to go, I have to go with the hometown organization's kid, Zach Veen. I'm going to snag for the outfield. I think I could slot Zach Veen in as my DH, but I think I'm going to pick him for the outfield, and that'll be my first of the outfield group. I got 2 other guys lined up on my radar for the outfield, and I'm sure you'll ruin it. You already snagged Curtis Mead. I'm sure you're going to pick one of them.
Yeah. So I'm looking at how my lineup is going now, and I kind of want to pull a U here, Tyler. And I'm going to move Ellie De La Cruz.
Don't say pull a me like it's a pejorative thing. This is just smart roster construction, Sam.
I'm sorry. I'm going to steal something out of your notebook, Tyler, and use it in mine.
I'm going to apply your intelligent methods.
Yes, I'm learning at your feet and taking those lessons into my own work here. I'm going to move Ellie De La Cruz. He's no longer my DH. He's going to be my shortstop. And I am
You
also going to
burned
move.
the DH though. Now you don't get one because now you put him in the
No,
lineup.
that's no, that's not how we're doing this. And I'm going to move George Valera to my DH.
Okay.
I'm going to take this to a new level.
This is a double switch, if you will.
And my third outfielder is now going to be Pete Crow Armstrong.
Okay.
I love my defensive outfield now between Carroll, Churio, and Crow Armstrong. All three of those guys are bound to play center field, I think, in the major league someday. But Pete Crow Armstrong might be one of our best defenders overall in minor league baseball right now. He's coming around with the bat. He's now at high A. Always really, really fast going back to his draft days. Another guy who missed a good chunk of last year. So between him and Carroll, they're making up for lost time this year. But again, just really tooled up. How much is the power going to play? We'll have to see. But after taking some real boppers, I think him and Carroll at the top of the lineup is exactly what I want there going 1-2. So yeah, we'll move that around. Pete Crow Armstrong.
You like your defensive outfield, which is fine because my dudes are going to be smacking dongs over the fence. So you don't even need an outfield, buddy.
Hey, if they put it like close to the fence, my guys could pull it back.
Well, good thing they won't be putting it close to the fence then,
Yeah,
Sam.
all right.
Going to be hitting them up onto that Think Blue hill out beyond the left field stand. Is that? I don't even know if that sign is still there in LA, but still, they'll hit it over the speakers out there in center.
All right.
Onto that new pavilion.
If you're going to keep talking about what your hitters are going to do, I think it's probably time for me to take a pitcher. And I am going to take Yuri Perez.
Oh, good pick.
Of the Miami Marlins system. Yuri Perez, they've been super aggressive with him as well. He's a teenager in Double-A, which is basically unheard of. He's also 6'8", which is also basically unheard of. But he seems to have really good body control, really knows how to work his pitches. It's a full arsenal. Usually with guys that big, we're talking about control problems. He doesn't really have that. His numbers this year would be good for Double-A anyways, but he's doing it at such a young age. He brings velocity. He brings off-speed pitches. Again, the perfect player for a futures game and somebody who I'm sure people have read about, but may not have seen yet. Having Double-A experience, he's not going to be afraid of this moment. Probably going to be seeing the majors at some point next year because of how close he is now. But Yuri Perez, going to make him my right-handed pitcher.
I like that pick. He's one of those guys who it feels like every single night that he's on the mound, we're working up a reel for his strikeouts, sending, highlights over or, writing about him for a standing story, whatever it is. So that's a good pick. I am going to start filling out my outfield and who do I want to go with? I'm going to snag Robert Hassel the third. Not to be confused with his father or grandfather. I'm going to take the one who's currently playing in the Padres system, Robert Hassel III, who has been terrific. Now, I've heard some things about Robert Hassel over the course of the season. Early on, even though he was getting hits, he was kind of struggling to get the bat head to the ball, was going the other way a lot with stuff. It really feels like he has started to round that out, and his numbers have been terrific all season long. So the fact that he was maybe getting a little late to things and was still putting good contact on the ball and driving it, and now he's adding a full repertoire of being able to spray it all over the field. That's a really impressive skill set to have. And for somebody who is, still pretty young, Robert Hassel, just 20 years old at high A, he's been really impressive. So we got one high A guy there, another high A guy in Zach Veen. And then I think I'm going to go even younger, and I'm going to snag 19-year-old Jason Dominguez from the New York Yankee system, who obviously was somebody who took a little bit of hit to his prospect stock. It's kind of hard to not take a hit when you're compared to literally Mickey Mantle and Mike Trout in people's scouting reports about you when you're a teenager. But he is really starting to get things put together. And what's amazing is people are like, Jason Dominguez, he's going to be a flop. This guy can't get it figured out. He's 19 years old. Like last year, Jason Dominguez played at the Class A level at 18 and still managed to hit 258 with a 744 OPS. This year, he's a little bit better, 267. The OPS is 819, but the power's starting to come along. He had 5 homers last year in 49 games played. He's got 9 in 74 games played at the single A level. And that skill set, I mean, the talent obviously is still the talent. And whether or not he makes himself into Mickey Mantle or Mike Trout, not many people are able to do that, period. But as a prospect, he is starting to get it put together. So that's my next pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's the tools are certainly there. It's projection remaining on him. You know, where does he go from here? Because he is so maxed out, like physically right now. He's a specimen at such a young age. So where do things go? But again, we're drafting here for Saturday, so he could hit rockets. He has
Right.
the speed. I think that could certainly work. So looking at my roster once again, I'm going to go back to the pitching well and round out my staff, my 2-person staff, as it were. And I'm going to go with Kyle Harrison at my left-handed pitcher pick. I think the gap between Kyle Harrison and Ricky Tiedemann has closed pretty much. I think for a while there was pretty clear that Kyle Harrison was the best left-handed pitching prospect in the game. I think Tiedemann's getting very close to him, but I might still lean towards Harrison just because he has a little bit more experience, obviously, a little bit more of a pedigree. But he's our 25 overall prospect right now. He's played 2 levels this year, currently at AA at just 20 years old. The fastball has been playing really well. The slider has been really difficult against left-handed pitchers or left-handed hitters. It seems like lefties can't hit him. He's extremely difficult to read coming out of the hand, and when he's blowing, plus fastballs and plus sliders and pretty good changeups by you, AA hitters are just confounded by him. High A hitters certainly were. So Kyle Harrison, especially in a game like this, where he doesn't need to last 5-6 innings, and that was maybe some of the questions on him coming into the year was what was his control going to be like, and he's still averaging close to a walk every 2 innings, but in a short spurt like this, when he can really air it out and really spin that slider, I think he's really, really good fit for this. And then I'm going to go for my catcher. I have my staff. I need a catcher now. I'm going to stick in the NL West, and I'm going to get my own Dodgers representative. You have Bobby Miller. I'm going to go Diego Cartaya, who I think is kind of in that Francisco Alvarez class of, if he wasn't a catcher, he would still be a top 100 prospect because the bat is so good, but it certainly helps that he is a catcher because he's playing a premium position. He split time this year between single A and high A, handled both of those levels pretty well. The power is really special coming out of Diego Cartaya, kind of similar to the way it is out of Alvarez, around the same age. He's 20 years old. He'll turn 21 in September. It's plus power. He's got a good arm. He can be a decent fielder. I think his defensive ceiling might end up being above Alvarez. It's just the offense isn't quite there, but it's still really, really good. The Dodgers develop guys really well. We saw it with Will Smith and the way he came up through the system. I think Diego Cartaya is a future first division catcher. It may take a little while to get there, but again, getting him in that stadium years in advance, I think could be huge. And I think the bat's going to play even against some of these advanced arms that you'll see in a futures game.
Okay. I only have 2 spots left to fill, and that is second base and my designated hitter. Second base, I'm going to go another guy who is pretty versatile, Miguel Vargas in the Los Angeles Dodgers organization, a guy who can play third, he can play first. We're going to put him at second base. And that leaves me only my DH spot to lock down. And I think I got to go with yet another recently promoted guy. And that is an organizational teammate of your first pick, Corbin Carroll. I'm going with Jordan Lawler. Who is a guy who, he may better be suited to be my shortstop than just my designated hitter, but it could be DH/utility. Well, we can use these guys. However, these are going to be the actual rosters, by the way. We're sending these in for this weekend. Mike Sosha and Jimmy Rollins are going to take our feedback because we're 2 very intelligent guys, obviously. But no, that's who I'm snagging.
No, that's good. That's good. I know I took Ellie De La Cruz and moved him to short. I think leaving Jordan Lawler, who is probably a better defender, and right now we have as a better overall prospect, is probably to my detriment, but that's okay. I'm just so excited about the switch hitting possibilities of Ellie De La Cruz, but I'm glad Jordan Lawler is represented on here somewhere. I only have first base left. First base, as you can imagine, is not exactly a deep position for this futures game, these rosters that we have currently. I'm going to go with another guy who was a late replacement, and that's Mark Vientos of the New York Mets system. This is his second year at AAA, but he's still only in his age 22 season. I know there's people in the Mets organization or like the fans of the Mets who keep saying like, hey, Mark Vientos could be our solution here in the second half to our major DH problem. And he's starting to bring it along. It's always been a power bat. He's actually technically a third baseman, but he's played a lot more first base of late, which makes this work out okay. Defensively, he's not going to provide a ton of value. He's a little too big, doesn't move great over at third base, isn't going to move great over at first base either, but the bat is what's going to drive the profile. And, he's not going to match Nick Pratto defensively whatsoever, but bringing some right-handed thump is going to be big for this. And he's going to be one of my more experienced guys. Again, being at AAA already, having that experience now, a second year of experience can certainly help out a roster like this. So Mark Vientos is the final pick of this Futures Game draft. Tyler, you want to run down your roster real quick?
I sure do. So I got Francisco Alvarez behind the plate, Nick Pratto at first, Miguel Vargas at second, Gunnar Henderson over at third, Anthony Volpe at short. I've got a young outfield of Zach Veen, Robert Assel III, and Jason Dominguez. Jordan Lawler is my designated hitter / maybe utility guy / maybe my starting shortstop. Bobby Miller is my right-handed pitcher, and Ricky Tiedemann is my lefty.
So for me at catcher, I have Diego Cartaya. First base, as I just mentioned, Mark Vientos. Third base, Jordan Walker. Second base is Curtis Meade. Shortstop is Ellie De La Cruz. My outfield is made up of Corbin Carroll, Jackson Churio, and Pete Crow Armstrong. DHing will be George Valera. My right-handed pitcher is Yuri Perez, and my left-handed pitcher is Kyle Harrison.
Those are pretty stacked squads.
Those are exactly how
obviously they were going to be, but man, those are really good teams.
I want this to happen. And
we
kind of get it.
We
right?
got to have Jonathan Mayo and Jim Callis draft teams now, and we can put
with the scraps, well, not the scraps,
right, exactly, with the guys who we have not
selected players,
right, and then we got to put a 4-team tournament together. I'm sure the big league clubs will go for this. So that's Futures Game conversation. The Sirius XM All-Star Futures Game pits the American League against the National League. Just a 7-inning game coming up on Saturday, 7:00 Eastern Time, 4:00 at Dodger Stadium. It'll be live on Peacock and Sirius XM, with MLB Network producing the telecast and re-airing the game on Sunday morning at 9:00. Jim Callis, our pal, will be on the call for that as one of the analysts. And you can catch that, of course, live on Peacock if you want to watch. My thought, I'm very happy that they moved it to Saturday. Last year it was Sunday, and the draft started basically right as the Futures Game was ending. My thought now is get it back to 9 innings. That's what I would love to see. If you give it its own day, make it a full game. And Dodger Stadium will be a very cool venue for that coming up on Saturday. Major League Baseball first-year player draft starts on Sunday, and we're back to talk about that coming up next.
TaxAct can think of a million things more fun than filing taxes. TaxAct is going to name some now. Sitting in traffic, folding a fitted bedsheet, listening to your coworker talk about his fantasy team, digging a hole, digging an even larger hole next to that original hole. Unfortunately, TaxAct's filing software can't make taxes fun, but TaxAct can help you get them done. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
So with the draft coming up on Sunday, it gets its own day in the spotlight for prospect fans and draft fans. And there are a ton of storylines going into this year's edition, including one that we're going to cover in our first topic for this week's edition of Three Strikes, an all draft edition of Three Strikes. And I think a very good conversation to lead us off, which is, what would you say the theme is of this year's draft in 2022? Because there's a very obvious one, but obviously there are a lot more behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think the obvious one is just bats. And part of that is there is a real strong group of hitters and overall position players at the top of this draft when you look at the rankings. But also, I think this was a really difficult year for pitchers. Just so many of the top guys got hurt. I'm thinking of like Dylan Lesko or some of these other guys who had Tommy John surgery and either did not pitch this spring or got hurt in the spring, which sends down their prospect stock. Now, when I'm looking at the top of the draft and you're talking about the top 5, 10, I don't even know how far we're going to go until we hear a pitcher. I think we should say that is partly credit as well, just to the quality of hitters. Like I don't want to put down pitchers alone here. You look at Drew Jones at the top, and he's a potential 5-tool star. Obviously, being the son of Andrew Jones, that there's reasons why I'm sure he learned what it takes to be a really good defensive center fielder. Jackson Holiday, son of Matt Holiday. Tyler, I believe you may have heard of that particular all-star player.
Indeed.
Elijah Green, another son of, in this case, he's a son of a former NFL player. Termarr Johnson might be the best hitter we've seen in the draft in a while. I think Jim Callis said potentially decades in terms of just pure hitting ability. Termarr Johnson is in that conversation. Brooks Lee might be one of the quickest guys to move through a minor league system because of how good of a hitter he is. So when you look at what this draft is going to be defined by, I think it could end up being like, hey, it's going to be a while until we hear a pitcher. And it's just so many hitters are going to be taken at the top here. And again, I think that's to the credit of this hitting class specifically, especially when it comes to the high school side.
Yeah, the family legacy thing is a really cool element of this draft too. You mentioned Drew Jones and Jackson Holiday. Also, for some reason, this makes me feel even older than those two guys. Carl Crawford's son, Justin Crawford, is a projected, mid to upper first round pick. Justin is listed as the 13th ranked overall prospect in the draft class, according to the pipeline rankings. And he's coming out of a place in Bishop Gorman High School in Nevada that has produced a ton of baseball talent, including Joey Gallo and, Yankees first rounder Austin Wells. A lot of talent has come out of Bishop Gorman. But yeah, I don't know why it is that Carl Crawford's son makes me feel even older than Jackson Holiday. I do remember seeing Jackson Holiday at a press conference back when the Rockies signed Troy Tulowitzki to a lengthy extension. I think that was after the 2007 season, and seeing Jackson Holiday wandering around when I believe he was 3. So yeah, now seeing him is like, he could be the first overall pick in the draft. That does make me feel pretty old. But for strike 2 this week, Drew Jones is kind of the hot topic going into the first round on Sunday. The son of the former Major League billion-time All-Star Andrew Jones and a 10-time Gold Glove winner, Drew Jones, 18 years old, coming out of high school. He is committed to go to Vanderbilt, but probably is not going to follow through on that commitment because you go first overall or even those first round draft selection spots. You're going to take that money and run on to college. But this is a guy who has all kinds of tools and could be first overall. Will he be first overall, Sam?
Ooh, yeah, it's kind of Drew Jones or the field, I think, in some ways. And that's just because I think it comes down to how cute do the Orioles want to get with this first overall pick. You go back to when they last had a first overall pick and it was Adley Rutschman, and people kind of said, like, listen, he is the top overall prospect in this draft. Don't overthink it. Take him. But they do have a recent history, including Adley Rutschman, of taking college hitters first. You go Heston Kjerstad, you go Colton Cowser. They seem to prefer college hitters. And there's an argument to be made that maybe they go back to that well, because, somebody like a Brooks Lee or, somebody like that might not ask for as much money. You can use the savings from signing him, further down the draft, make a deeper farm system. And also, we're speaking right now, the Orioles have a 10-game winning streak. They're all of a sudden in the playoff picture. I think they are contending a lot quicker than maybe even they thought. So do you want to draft a Drew Jones who's years away, or take somebody who could join the big league club quicker and contribute to that window of contention? That being said, if I'm Mike Elias and the group making this pick, I'm taking Drew Jones. I just think he is not head and shoulders above the rest of the class, but just so good. He is a 5-tool player, really good defender, really good runner. Seems like the power is there. He can hit a bit too. If you have a guy who you feel like is going to be the number 1 talent eventually in this class, take him. Like, yeah, you might come to a time where Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson are playing with Drew Jones. Like that's how franchises are built. That's how dynasties are built. It might be 4 or 5 years away, but like, take the guy who you think is the best overall talent in the draft. Now, maybe the O's disagree. Maybe they really like Jackson Holiday more. Maybe they like Termarr Johnson and his hit tool more, and they're willing to overlook him being just a second baseman. We'll have to see. If I'm making the pick, I'm taking Drew Jones. But I think it's 50-50 between him and the field. Based off what I'm hearing and reading, from people who cover the draft. I don't dive too much into this on minor leagues only. But having covered it a little bit over the last week, I just think Drew Jones is so good of a player that it's difficult to overlook.
So that leaves us with one more topic, and it is a very fascinating one coming into this edition. And he was a fascinating guy going into last edition of the draft, and that is Kumar Rocker, who was the 10th overall pick in the 2021 draft. Did not come to terms with the New York Mets, who were concerned with some things that they had seen in his post-draft physical. Kumar Rocker recently revealed that he did undergo arm surgery last year, but he has been pitching this season for the Tri-City Valley Cats in one of the MLB partner leagues. Is he still a first rounder, Sam? We know that the arsenal is still there. A guy who, is one of the most decorated and probably most famous college pitchers of all time with what he did at Vanderbilt. Pitched a 19 strikeout no-hitter against Duke in the NCAA Super Regional. He picked out 2 wins and the most outstanding player selection at the College World Series. Got back to the College World Series final in 2021. Kumar Rocker, the thing that's crazy, he's 22. We've been hearing about him for so long. He's still got his whole baseball life ahead of him, but he's got a lot more on his 22-year-old resume than a lot of other players do. What do we think about where he goes this year?
Yeah, I mean, you brought up the shoulder surgery that has now been revealed that he had last fall. I think that was huge for clubs because there were so many questions, even after he started pitching for Tri-City, of like, yeah, but what happened last year with the Mets? The Mets never disclosed that, hey, we saw something in his shoulder during the physical. Maybe it wasn't even the shoulder. Maybe it was something with an elbow or just his general arm. But the fact that he had that shoulder surgery, came back, pitched for Tri-City in independent ball, and did really well. The stuff was certainly there. Now it's the Frontier League is not the SEC by any means. So you can kind of put the results off to one side, but stuff-wise, it was there. And that's a huge thing for him coming off such a big procedure and having all those question marks over his head. Now, that being said, he is still somebody who has had shoulder surgery, and that comes with a risk that could always come back. It's not like he was pitching 7-8 innings for Tri-City. It was limited appearances, and he wasn't pitching a full season there. Like he wasn't getting 100 innings like he would have had he gone back to Vanderbilt. So there are still some questions remaining with him. I think a big wild card here, and it's something a lot of people have started talking about with him, is yes, he could get back into the first round, but maybe he goes to some of these teams that kind of need bullpen help right now. And they look at him as like, yes, we're drafting him for the future. That's the point of the draft. But hey, if we can use him, his mid-90s fastball is pretty good slider in our bullpen right now, kind of do what like the Rays did a few years ago with David Price.
Remember Brandon Finnegan coming up?
Brandon
Finnegan. Year he was drafted out of TCU, made it to the Royals that season. He became the first player to ever pitch in the College World Series and the Major League World Series in the same year.
Yeah.
I think that could very much be the model.
Right. And Brandon Finnegan, Kumar Rocker has a higher ceiling than he does. But again, if you're thinking like, we're not going to tax on too many innings to this guy, but hey, we believe in the stuff, that has value too. Like getting immediate major league impact out of the guy could be pretty big. So I think that could get him into that 20s area. And, in that 20s area are teams that are contending right now. You're not going to find your rebuilding clubs in the 20s. That's how the draft works. So I'll be fascinated to see where he lands. It definitely seems like he is a first rounder now. There isn't that question that like, oh, maybe he'll drop to the second or third round. I think somebody's going to bite on him. It only takes one team, but kudos to him for coming back in the way he did after what was just a disaster of a draft process last year.
So that's 3 strikes for this week's episode of the show before the show. And you can tune in to the Major League Baseball first-year player draft coming up Sunday, 7 o'clock Eastern time, MLB Network, MLB.com, ESPN will have coverage as well as the draft continues. And then on MLB.com exclusively on Monday and Tuesday as the later rounds get rolling, and some very intriguing storylines headed into the draft here in 2022. We will step aside. Josh Jackson swings by for Ghost of the Minors next, and then we're back to wrap it up on the other side.
We all have that dream trip we've been wishing we could go on, but too often life, or usually price, gets in the way. That's why Priceline is here to help you turn your dream trip into reality. With up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights, you can book everything you need for your next adventure. Don't just dream about that next trip. Book it with Priceline. Download the Priceline app or visit Priceline.com and book your next trip today.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Miners. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Miners, in which all of you out there in Radioland must identify the legitimate historical ball club hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One inspired real cheers, the others merely provoke questions. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball teams did at one time exist. A. The Leesville Leapers. B. The Hopkinsville Hoppers. C. The Dedham Double Dutchers. Let's jump right in. The Hopkinsville Hoppers launched themselves into the fray as representatives of the bird named for early 19th century Kentucky statesman Samuel Hopper, playing in the Kitty League, that's the Kentucky, Illinois, sometimes Indiana, Tennessee League, in fits and spurts throughout the first half of the 20th century. Hopping in and out of existence like mad, the Hopkinsville team may have inspired assumptions that it was hopped up on goofball. Why, they had 9 lives in the Kitty League. However, it seems the Hoppers moniker came not from any frenetic energy or rabbit-like proclivities, but was born of the old newspaper person's penchant for wordplay and necessity for flexible character counts for headlines and subheads and drop heads. As in, any editor not dropped on her head would want a shorter name for a Hopkinsville ball club in a time when many minors teams were known only by their towns or an unofficial name, or nicknames given to them by the fans or press. Thus, in 1905, when the Hopkinsville Nine played their first season with no working agreement or affiliation whatsoever with the St. Louis Browns, from whom they'd taken their nickname during the previous 2 seasons, newspapers took to referring to them as the Hoppers and the Hoptown Boys. Hoptown Boys fell out of usage as the years ticked by, but the Hoppers were known in '05, when the team folded about a month before the Kitty League season ended on August 17th due to the '05 yellow fever pandemic, and again from 1910 to 1914, 1922 and 1923, 1935 until the middle of the summer of '42, and from 1946 to 1954. Even to this day, the Hoppers live on as the Hoptown Hoppers of the Ohio Valley Summer Collegiate League. But let's not leap ahead. The Hoppers first reached their greatest heights in 1911, going 78-46 for the Kitty League's best record. Poor field conditions at the home of the second-place Fulton Colonels, who finished 11.5 games beneath the Hoppers, canceled the playoffs and the teams were named co-champions. Hopkinsville wouldn't soar to another title until 1947, when its third-place club buried the Madison Miners in the playoffs. In January of 1955, news reports surfaced that the Hoppers had dropped nearly $20,000 over the last 2 seasons. And Hopkinsville never bounced onto the field that spring. And that's how the Hoppers lost the skip in their step. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these monosyllabic clubs grunted its way through a few seasons in the minors of yesteryear? A. The Adrian Yeggs. B. The Bayonne Uz. C. The Calgary Oz. Want to know the answer? Oof. Or tune into the next Ghosts of the Miners. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is grilling an eggplant, and he's broken the yolk.
Final segment of this week's episode of the show before the show. This is where we generally give you our MILB TV picks for this weekend or next week. But one thing that we haven't even mentioned, there is a newly instituted minor league break over the Major League All-Star break. So the minor leagues are going to be off from Monday through Wednesday of next week. They will resume play coming up on the 22nd of July. So, sorry, I think I said Monday through Wednesday. It's Monday through Thursday of next week. So players can get a little time off to rest and recoup in the middle of a long season and all that. But we do still have some picks for you because we'll have some games going on this weekend and then late next week. Sam, an abbreviated schedule, but what are you watching?
Yeah. So the fact that we're not really going to have many games next week, I'll throw one out for the weekend. A series that is just wrapping up, and somebody who is not in the futures game, but could have easily have gone there was Marcelo Meyer of the Red Sox organization. He plays currently at Single A Salem. Those games are on MILB TV, so check them out either on Saturday or Sunday. They're going up against Kannapolis. But I just want to shout out Marcelo Meyer because in July, through 8 games as of recording this, he is 12 for 28 with 2 homers and 4 doubles in 8 games. So he's batting .429. He's got an OPS above 1,300 in the month. Yeah, small sample. I get that. But somebody who we were excited about coming into the year at a little bit of a down June is certainly turning things around now. Speaking of the draft, going into last year, he was one of the top prospects in the draft completely. I think the Red Sox were elated that he dropped to them. Now he's starting to put all the pieces together. Really good defensive shortstop as well. So if you want to get a reminder of what somebody can look like 1 year out from the draft, watch Marcelo Meyer with Salem this weekend. Tyler, you said your pick was a little off the wall or a funny one. What does that mean?
I have got to pick, Sam. I've got to pick, and it's a good one. So we have access to the internal MLB stats portal, which of course keeps all the minor league records as well. And I was looking at the day-by-day schedule for all the minor leagues. So coming up on Friday the 22nd, everybody is back into the pool. They're across the 60 games in minor league baseball scheduled for that day. Only one team has inputted its anticipated starting pitcher for that night. And that is the Salem Red Sox, who have 9th-ranked Red Sox prospect Wickelman Gonzalez going to the mound that night. He's the only guy who, at least right now, is scheduled to be going on that night. So congratulations to him and to Salem as they take on the Lynchburg Hillcats. They're my pick. Tune in for what evidently is small business night at Salem Memorial Ballpark, according to the Salem Sox online schedule. Very exciting stuff. Wickelman Gonzalez and the Salem Red Sox. He probably won't even pitch. I'm just like throwing it out there. It's like, oh no, he's actually going to go on Sunday or whatever it is. But kind of a throwback weekend because teams are going to have 3-game series and then back to the regularly scheduled off day on Monday. So it'll be kind of an old feeling minor league series for teams across that weekend.
Yeah. It's kind of fun that they are getting that break though. I'm a big fan of that. It's not fun in that like we enjoy watching baseball, but talk to anybody who's just getting their way going in pro ball and they're just like, man, it really is a grind in the middle of the season. Now all of a sudden to have this break, everybody can kind of collect themselves and really power through for the remainder of the way, I think is a great idea. So happy for everybody to get that break next week.
So that'll do it for this week's episode of the show before the show. Again, you can get in touch with us, podcast at MILB.com. Sam's on Twitter at Sam Dykstra, MILB. I almost said it's Sam's Biz. Can you make an alternate handle, just a Sam's Biz handle? You just
maybe
retweet
some point
everything
like
from
January, Ben and I should flip jobs.
That would be fun. You're on prospect coverage. You got to do the top 30s now, Ben.
Yes, I want this to happen. Yes, let's do it.
For Sam Dykstra, I'm Tyler Mon. We'll talk to you next week.